Hey comic book junkies, it's the Frog Queen here, and this is my kitchen. Yes, I'm temporarily set up here until I put together my desk, which should be arriving today. But don't worry, you won't have to look at this mess too long. Also, I'm wearing sunglasses because a bunch of blood vessels have burst in my eyes, and I don't wish to traumatize you or look like a character from Twilight, so let's just get to the comics. So a few months back, I interviewed Tyler Chin Tanner on the Kickstarter for his comic book anthology, Loved and Lost. Well, that Kickstarter was successful, and the anthology made it to fruition. Tyler graciously sent me a copy, so let's talk about it. So the book officially launched on June 21st and came out on the indie label A Wave Blue World. Tyler and his wife Wendy founded the label in 2005. They have some really great titles on the label, so go on over to awaveblueworld.com and check them out. Tyler's previous works include the Broken Frontier Anthology, Adrenaline, American Terrorists, and Mezzo on the label. There's also a few digital comics for you to read on the webpage, free of charge, so I suggest you check those out. So, as you can see, it's a bit smaller than the standard floppy. I've got my copy of Non-Wolf here to compare. Whoops. But, and also, Tyler sent me these beautiful prints, which probably came with the Kickstarter. You know, if you had signed up for it. A whole bunch of those. So, all the stories in Loved and Lost were written by Tyler, with the art by various different artists, which include Robert Ryan, Isigul Sinav, I have no idea if I'm saying that right, Leslie Atlansky, James Boyle, Jason Copeland, Mac Cooper, Tad Galusha, Jeanette Langmead. Whew. So there are 9 stories in the anthology. First, let me say that all these artists are talented and all the artwork is polished and complete, which isn't a feeling I always get when I read indie anthologies. Many times they include indie artists, and often it's like their first time that they've ever been published, and therefore you don't always get the best. Thankfully, that's not the case here, although not all the artwork runs in the vein of my personal taste. There is no doubt that these are professional and experienced artists. Now, generally, anthologies don't sell that well. This isn't just my opinion. It's a pretty well-known fact. But if I had to speculate, I would say that because the general comic book audience wants to spend their money on a whole intact story or something that is going to lead into an ongoing series, it's probably why they don't sell so great. And generally, readers really don't want to see a lot of different art in a book. Reason being is because they're not always likely to enjoy all the artwork. Now, for me, I really like anthologies because I like to discover new artists, and hopefully there are a lot more people like me out there because I think anthologies are really fantastic. If I hadn't read this book, I wouldn't have discovered Tad Galusha and Ryan Alexander Tanner, which I suspect is a relation of Tyler and Wendy. Ryan has this really clean sort of Fantagraphic style art, and it really fits the story, which is a sort of blind date which, you know, was arranged over the internet. I really like the interaction between these two characters the most out of all the stories. All the stories are character-driven and focused around love, and often the development of intimacy and connections where they might not normally be found. It takes a lot of diversity. It takes a look at the diversity of love and how different relationships actually are, and how different our outlooks of love can be from person to person. Some of the stories are happy, and some of them are not. In each story, you really get a good sense of who the characters are. It's kind of amazing how Tyler is able to let you get to know a character well in only a few pages, and sometimes I don't see this kind of character representation in comics after 5 issues. So you know when you've been reading a series for a while and you realize all of a sudden that you just don't have any good sense of who the characters are. I really wish that didn't happen, but it happens all the time in mainstream comics, at least for me. It's wishy-washy writing, and it doesn't happen in this book. So as usual, I'm not going to spoil any of the story for you guys. I really dislike YouTubers who just sit there and summarize the plot for you, and you end up with this kind of uncertain, I liked it or I didn't like it at the end of the video, and that's not a review. It's fine if you want to do that, totally, just talk about something, talk about a book, but don't call it a review. That's not a review, it's a summary. Anyway, that's it for me for this review. I definitely enjoyed this anthology, and I got to meet 2 new artists on paper, which I will now stalk on Twitter. So please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Throw me a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to check out some of my other indie reviews, like this one on Black Mass series, There's Nothing There. And until next time, read something good.